Hello, everybody. I'm Madame Sensei. I teach Spanish, French, Japanese, and English to high schoolers out here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. Normally, I've been trying to make my videos under 10 minutes. This one, I'm just going to go, it's going to be a long video, but I'm getting a lot of questions on the Duolingo Educators Network about what to do now that we cannot assign skills at the moment. Now, I do have faith that assigning skills will come back. We've seen it get taken away temporarily while they worked on some things on the website, and then they brought it back. And they didn't want us to get stressed while they were tinkering around in the background. So at the moment, we cannot assign skills. We can only assign XP. And for me, after a while, assigning skills is kind of like herding cats. Some of my students have gone ahead and they've done 100 million assignments, 100 million lessons without me even assigning them. And some of them are just slow and steady wins the race. So for me, I like XP, but sometimes I do want them to focus on a certain skill. Okay, so I'm going to tell you all the ways I've been doing it, and hopefully there's some ideas here that will help you. Okay, so first of all, I printed up some trackers for my students. Now this game board is available on the Duolingo Educators Network, and I've filled it in with basically what's on the stepping stone. So this is French 1, just the beginning. Here's my Spanish class. So this is the first stepping stone, second, third, fourth, and then they come to the treasure chest, and then they come to the trophy, and then you've got the next one. And sometimes it doesn't really line up with the game board, but it's fine, okay? So I have the students, I give this to the students, where are you? And then I've got the vanilla one for the students, like my second, third, fourth year students, or students who have just gone on ahead. And I'm like, I don't have a tracker for you. Here's just the vanilla one. And I put on the bottom of all of these, how much of the daily quest have you done for the month so far? Did you get the badge? What's your best leaderboard position so far? Total XP. Have you done your assignments? Because I assign Duolingo as homework. Okay. And then as the students finish it, they fill it in. So the student just kind of did little hash marks and stuff. The student did it nicely in color. And I think that's all I got. So just to show you that they fill it in. And, at the end of the year, when I have to submit my evaluation and all that stuff, I say, look, my students are tracking their own progress. And then I get distinguished for my evaluation. All right. So we can't actually give an assignment yet, but you can have your students jump to where you want them to be. Okay, if you want them to be in using past tense negative verbs, and I'm sorry, I can't show you a screenshot of jump here because I'm legendary on all my stuff now. But anyway, you'll just say, go right here to the beginning of this unit and have them hover over here, and there'll be a question mark, jump here, and tell them jump right there. And, they might not be ready for it, in which case I'm going to suggest to you, maybe don't have them jump here. If they make 3 mistakes, they won't be able to. But if you really, really want them to be here, you can, of course, stand over their shoulder and you can give them hints if you really want them to be there. But, basically, right now, that's why Duolingo won't let us assign, because at the moment they're playing with the order of things and when they should come. Okay, so before I even tell my students to do that, I go through and I say, I need to refamiliarize myself with everything in that skill. And so I go through, it takes me about 5 minutes to do a lesson. And if I'm taking screenshots, it takes me 10 minutes to do a lesson. Okay. So here I took screenshots of everything in the lesson because I want my French students, we're going to play restaurant. And so I went to all the grocery store, food, restaurant skills I could find. And I just took screenshots of everything. All right, as I did them. It did not take me that long because, I'm the teacher. I should be able to do this, right? So just take screenshots as you go through, and it doesn't take that long. I won't make you look at all those. Okay, so now I've got a bunch of card games. Okay, let me go back. I got a bunch of cards. Oh, so I took screenshots, and sorry, I want this to be short. I'm already at 4 minutes. Okay, so took screenshots of everything, and then I print them on cardstock. All right. And I make it easy on myself. I print two of these per cardstock. Okay. So I can just slice right down the middle, and I've got these really big cards, and I'll show you pictures in a moment, but that makes it really easy. Okay. And sometimes I'm going to say, I don't want the students to see this part, so I cover it over. All right, so now they just see the English. It does not take that long to do this, okay? Now, I've got a million games, okay? So I can tell if the students have been keeping up with Duolingo, because how are they going to do on the game? And frankly, the students don't want to lose the game. So they're really incentivized to do their Duolingo, okay? So this was a fun game we did the other day. Now, we're at the beginning of the year. My Spanish 1 students and my French 1 students don't know that much yet, and they are in their silent period where it's hard to get them to produce some language. So this was really fun. I just had students draw random cards for me, and I took a word from the card, and I began telling a story with that word. And I spoke really slowly. Maybe I wrote some stuff on the board, and I had the students just illustrate, okay? So the first thing was, I think I got bebo. The student pulled bebo. So I said, yo bebo agua. And I wrote that sentence on the board, okay? The students had to illustrate it. And then the next word a student pulled was ella, okay? Oh, okay, so I'm going to say ella bebe mi agua. Now, they don't know me yet, but I wrote that on the board so they could see. So we told a story about how I was drinking water, and they were trying, my friend, this girl was taking all of my water. They don't know todo, but I threw that into the sentence because they know hola todos. Okay, so they just drew a little comic strip. A different Spanish class of mine, they drew the word manzana. Okay, so we talked about la manzana es rojo, and I had them draw it. And then the next one was, we got come. Okay, so the students are still struggling over putting that accent on top of L, but they were able to draw so that they showed me that they understood what I was saying. Okay, my French students had a more fun time because we wound up with the story. I was eating a pizza, and then the next word I got was grand. So it was like, okay, now I'm big and fat, and okay, now I'm eating a croissant, and then the next thing we got was a cat. So the cats were stealing my food, and we had a fun time with that. So that was really fun. Okay, so I just had the students randomly draw cards for me on that one. The next level on this from my higher level students is we play Whose Line Is It Anyway? This is a TV series originally from England. And basically, I just have the students draw random cards, and then I have them write a skit with those random sentences put in. And this was one we did during the pandemic where couldn't have them actually perform the skit, so we did it on Pixton. But they just selected some random lines, 2 random lines, put it in a skit with your partner, okay? So that's pretty fun. They get really goofy. Okay, here's one I really wanted. Again, I was getting my French students ready to play restaurant, and I needed to explain the concept of le partitif to them. All right, so went again into Duolingo, and I took screenshots of all the lines. And the nice thing about taking screenshots is now I can put hints on top, okay? Okay, this is aimer, so is it going to be le or du, okay? And you'll also see up here, I put notes to myself. These cards I was going to print on green, and these cards I was going to print on yellow, and I covered over. I didn't want them to see this, okay, the le partitif. That was my answer for it. All right, so anything, like I categorized the sentences, and I printed them on different colors of cardstock, okay? And then again, I like to give them clues sometimes. They didn't know the word miel yet. They didn't know the word confiture yet. So I gave them clue. And then I reminded them 80% of the time, if it has an E on the end, it's going to be, and I didn't tell them, they had to figure that out. Okay, so now I've got my amazing Duolingo board game, and I have to tell you a secret. Okay, so Duolingo came to film my classes about 5 years ago. So I wound up in DuoCon, whatever it was, 5 years ago, and that was so much fun. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. But at the end of the day, my last class, for some reason, they were just kind of bouncing off the walls. They were just like, I could not keep them like under wraps. And here's the cameraman standing there watching me. And the students were kind of done with everything, all the games I had already prepared. And I was like, what am I going to do now? Oh, and I pulled this game out of my posterior. Okay, this is a secret. Don't tell Duolingo this. All right. I just totally made this game up on the fly. And the cameraman and the people from Duolingo who were here, they were like, oh my God, that was the most amazing game. You had 100% student engagement. And I was like, thank you. Because I told you, I just pulled it out of my posterior, but the students love it. Okay, so there is on the Duolingo Educators Network, we've got this, I don't even remember who put this up before. It was all blank, but I added the Project World characters in it, and I added just some, roll again or get another attempt at a card you didn't get right or whatever. Okay, and I made a board game. So I printed the cards on different colors, and I have all these cards already printed because we play so many card games. So it is super easy for me to just make up something on the fly. Oh my God, my lesson's going south. I just grab a deck of cards and we have a card game, okay? Very easy to do that. So I told the students, you land on a square, draw a card, all right? And for this one, I just said make a sentence with the word that was on the card. Later on, you can see, I'll show you, I've added to this game, okay? If everyone agrees it's a grammatical sentence, keep the card, and the first person to 10 points wins, okay? And I gave them some hints here about what they should say to each other, because of course I want them speaking French the whole time, or speaking Japanese the whole time, or speaking Spanish the whole time. Here was a harder version. Again, we're getting ready to play restaurant, okay? So if you land on Oscar, Oscar's asking you, what do you recommend? Okay, so the card should be something to deal with some kind of a food. So they should be able to put it into the sentence, I recommend this, okay? If you land on Zari, she's going to ask, what do you have as in the way of drinks? Okay, so those cards are all drink names from Duolingo, okay? Lily's going to ask you how much it costs. I've got a bunch of sentences about, it's about this much or whatever. And then Falstaff is going to say, I'm going to order blah, blah, blah. Okay. And this was actually, let me go back again. This was a complicated game because I started with the concept of this is the secret menu, because in Disneyland they have secret menus that you can order if you know what to order. So that's where that come from. Anyway, here's a little thing of the game. I had my secretaries printed as big as they could, and they could only print it in black and white, but that's okay. And then I have all sorts of little things. You can see my cards, different colors, okay, or different shapes. And so I told the students what color card to take for which character. Oh, here's another view of that. Okay, so you can see. And it's like a Trivial Pursuit. It doesn't matter what direction you go. You can go whatever direction you want, but you can't change direction in the middle of a turn. You have to wait till your next turn. Another thing you can do with cards, you can play Teams Game Tournament, which is a game by Silver, Strong, and Perini from their book, The Strategic Teacher. And I explain this in detail in another video. So I'm just going to link to that video because I'm already at 13 minutes and I told you this was going to be a long video. Teams Games Tournament is a great one to make sure that your students understand the material. And they're talking to each other in the target language, and they're writing it down also, so you get double there. Spoons. Oh my gosh, I started doing spoons, which is normally you play it with clubs and hearts and diamonds and, a regular card deck. And I decided I was going to take up some Duolingo sentences and cut them up. And now the students have to trade them around the table and put them in order. Put them in a sentence. Okay, so I also made a video on this. Go to that video. The link will be in the description. Quiz trade. Oh, this is my standby. If I don't know, there was a Armageddon and I could only do 2 things in class, I would do TPRS and I would do quiz trade, and I would get my students pretty far with that. Okay, so quiz trade, I have made another video about that, but basically each student has a different card in their hand. They walk around the room like a cocktail party. They go up to somebody. They show the other student what's on their card. That student has to answer correctly. And the other student shows the first student what they have on their card. They have to answer correctly. When they know that they have the correct answer, then they trade, and then they walk on and find other students. And you put yourself in this game. I'm telling you, don't ever sit in the corner. Don't ever be reading a magazine. Don't ever be grading papers. Put yourself in all the games. And you've got an instant formative assessment. How are my students doing? So I've got a video for this. Go check out that video. This was scrambled sentences. I took a bunch of sentences and I cut them up. And I had the students put them in order. And here I made a horrible mistake. This was the very first time I did it. And the sentences are way too tiny. That takes too long to do. Just cut them big, print up the sentences big so that they're easier to cut out. And then the students don't lose them on the floor. But then they have to put them in they have to make sentences with them. So if you give them 5 different sentences, they'll have to figure out what words go in which sentences. And they might come up with combinations that you hadn't thought of, which is great. But you can do that with all your Duolingo sentences, okay? Jenga. I went to my PTSA and I said, can you help me please purchase 7 Jenga sets? Because I have 7 table groups, all right? And that's a bit too few because I have 36 students in my class now, and I don't like students to be sitting there passively. But, oh my God, the students love playing Jenga. I took each of these wooden blocks and I put numbers 1 through 15 on them. So I have about 3 number 15s in each set because there's like 53 pieces in a Jenga set. So I could get through 15 3 times plus 4 number 1s, 4 number 2s, 4 number 3s, etc. until I got up to 53. All right, so as the students pull it out, let me go to the next one. So here's my sentences that I took from, okay? So I just went to, I think, I've got restaurant here. So I took the sentences and I just took screenshots of what the characters were saying, and I printed it up on cardstock 1 through 15, okay? So when the student pulls a Jenga block and they look at the number, first of all, they have to identify the number in the target language, okay? Here, they just have to fill in the thing, okay? Is it des biscuits? Is it les biscuits? Is it un biscuit? Is it du biscuit? Okay, so they have to pull it out. And if they get it wrong, they have to pull a second Jenga, okay? So there's more chance of it falling down on top of them. And I make sure that they're speaking in the target language the whole time. But that's a great one. They're using the Duolingo sentences, and I can just walk around and listen to them and, oh, gee, you don't seem to know what you're talking about. Are you doing your Duolingo? Absolute best thing. You don't have a lot of time. You don't want to print up stuff. You don't want to cut it out. You don't have a paper budget. I don't know. The very best thing I bought from my PTSA money is I bought whiteboards, mini whiteboards and markers. That was the very first thing I bought when I was hired, and I have never regretted it. I love mini whiteboards and markers. So have the students grab mini whiteboards and markers, project Duolingo on the board, the lesson you want to check that they're doing, okay? You told them to do that lesson. Let's check it now. And you just go to the first question and you say, write it on your board, hold it up when you're done, and you walk around and you say, très bien. You say, pas encore, whatever. You just walk around and give them the raised eyebrow if they're not quite right. And then you can see instantly how well your student's doing, okay? And you know what? If you're worried, oh my gosh, the students are looking at each other, you could have them count to 10 and then everyone raise it at the same time, but I don't do that, okay? Because the students who are really struggling, yes, they take a peek at everybody else's boards, but then they write it down themselves. And that writing it down themselves is going to help them learn faster. So I don't mind that. You can play other games. You can play Jeopardy. I don't like to play Jeopardy. And the reason I don't like to play Jeopardy is because there's only 3 people talking at one time and everybody else is sitting there passively. So a lot of people like Jeopardy. If you can make it work by all means. But I don't do Jeopardy, but that it's a possibility. You can take those Duolingo sentences and make a Jeopardy game out of it. You can also play other quiz show games. When I first started teaching, I went to the dollar store and actually I bought tap lights. They were really pretty tap lights too. They were like the sun and the moon. And within one class period, they were destroyed. The students hit them too hard. Okay. So then I went back to the dollar store and I bought just regular bells. So it cost me $4, $2 for the tap lights that broke, and then $2 for the bells. And I know the Dollar Tree dollar store is now no longer $2. It's now $1.50 or whatever. So it's a little more expensive now. But these have lasted me pretty well. But again, I don't like to play game shows too much because everyone is passive and only 2 people are talking at one time. So I don't really do this that much anymore. But if you like game shows and you can make them work for you, by all means, do a game show with the Duolingo sentences. And you can project it on the board and have the students answer it. And then the first person to answer it can come up to your computer and type it in. Similarly, Hangman, I used to hate because everyone was sitting there passively. And then one day I realized, oh, if I put the students in groups of 3, it is great. Put the students in groups of 3, have each group grab one mini whiteboard and one marker and say, take turns and say, okay, you've got your cards already made for Duolingo sentences. Have one person grab the card and that's their sentence. And then they can draw out the lines and they can tell people if they've got it or not, you know. And here, this for my French class, I tell them that they can be as mean as they want. Sink or swim. I love sink or swim. It's not a game show. All right. What's going to happen in this is once your students figure out the strategy, they're going to be eliminating the students who are really good at the game. And it's really funny to see somebody who's like, they've been doing their homework. They know what they're doing. They're a high flyer. They get eliminated and then they get saved and then they get eliminated and then they get saved and then they get eliminated and they never get a turn, and it's hysterical. Okay. And the students who really need to work, they're getting lots and lots of turns. So sink or swim I have described right here, and you can go check out that because I'm already at 21 minutes and I apologize. You could send your students to Blooket. You can make a Blooket with the Duolingo sentences and then say, okay, guys, I just want to check you. Let's play Blooket. And then you can see who's doing their Duolingo because you can see it right there in Blooket. And I love Blooket so much. Actually, I'll also link you to my Blooket review. And I'm going to say, if you at all think you're going to use Blooket or you need to use the data from Blooket in your yearly evaluations, they give beautiful data. Pay them the $35 a year. I think it went up to $39 actually. They're a tiny company and they work really hard and they're really responsive and I really love them so much. So there's my 3 big ones, people, is Duolingo, Blooket, and Minecraft. Those are the only 3 things I really do. Oh, and Roxham. I do those on computer. Okay. So, but that's a way to check. Are your students doing Duolingo? Okay, Duolingo stories. We're almost done. Stay with me. Duolingo stories. When you go on the path, the stories are embedded in the path. And we used to be able to get to them, and I have faith that we'll be able to get to them again. But for the moment, because this is the main reason that assignments have been taken away from us right now, is because Duolingo is trying to decide, do we want this story to be located here, or do we want it to be located here? Or maybe we want it to be located in the next unit. So they're playing around with the location of some of the stories. And what that did was, if we were a teacher assigning a story, suddenly it was broken. Just that part, okay? So because of that, it's in flux. And so at the moment, we can't assign, all right? But the stories are great. And soon we will, I'm fairly confident we'll be able to get back to the stories individually. Usually, over here, I didn't take a screenshot of it, but over here, there's a bar that's like more, and you can get to the podcasts there. And we used to be able to get to the stories there. I have faith that they'll put that back in a bit. Okay. But in the meantime, in the Duolingo Educators Network, I uploaded as many printouts as I could, as many PDFs as I could of the Spanish and French. I think I got about 40 for each language. I did all the Japanese because there's not as many Japanese stories yet as there are of French and Spanish. And they're up here. And I must put some more up there. So they're all up here in the Duolingo Educators Network resource drop. So you can print them out for your students if you need them, or you can just go and do the story yourself and take PDFs. And if you don't remember exactly where it's located on the path and you teach Spanish or French or Japanese, then either ping me on the Duolingo Educators Network and I will help you find it, or I don't think I have a screenshot of it. I put the curriculum guides up here too, okay? The curriculum guides they must be here. They're somewhere here, okay? It'll say curriculum guides. Duolingo curriculum guides right here. Duolingo curriculum guides right here. You'll at least be able to find a ballpark as those stories kind of shift by a couple of stepping stones, okay? What I like to do with stories is I tell my students that they're doing a live action remake. Here's the script, Here's the script, or let them choose the script that they want and have them get into groups. And, maybe they've got an extra person in their group and they only have, there's 4 characters in the story, but they've got 5 people who really want to be together in a group. I'm like, great. These are all live action movies that have nothing to do with the original cartoon, right? So what are you going to do? How are you going to add another character? How are you going to change the ending? How are you going to, whatever they want to add. Okay. But that's their basis for it. Okay. And if you want your students to write stories, again, there's templates up here. I'll show you where they are. All right. Whoa, 26 minutes. Okay. So if you haven't joined the Duolingo Educators Network, join it because all of our supports are there. All right. And Duolingo is a great company that supports us and they've given us a lot of supports there. And there's a lot of stuff that I and other people have put up there for you to use. Okay. So here's the link. I'll put that in the description. And I'll also put in the description a link to the professional development, which will help you figure out how to support your students if you really, really, really want to give a skills assignment and we can't do it right now. Okay, so sorry, this was very long-winded, but I'm sure I'm going to add to it. And everyone's asking me all the same questions and just save my typing fingers. Okay, I'm just going to put a link to this, and then there's links to other stuff. Okay, all right, ask me questions in the Duolingo Educators Network. See you there.